formally, I started Googling respectful parenting nannies, responsive care nannies, and it quickly became apparent that Peaceful Learning was really the only kind of agency that was able to provide that kind of a service. And we were in touch with quite a few agencies, but so far we hadn't really met any nannies that clicked with us. And so I started a conversation with Lara. I was impressed from the very beginning how much she wanted to understand what we were looking for in a caregiver and what sort of relationship we wanted that caregiver to foster with Audrey, what sorts of philosophies were important to us. And I felt we were in very safe hands from the very beginning. In terms of the support we received from Peaceful Learning, I think one of the most useful and distinctive aspects of the process was the pre-screening questions that you asked of the candidates about particular scenarios, about how they would respond to the child. So, for example, if a child is constantly pouring water on the floor, how would they respond? What was their attitude to feeding? Just sort of various challenges that one confronts when looking after children. And I felt that the candidates' preliminary written responses to those questions already gave us as parents a lot of reassurance about what they would be like. And that also was very, very helpful for us, I think, in terms of structuring the questions we would then ask in the interview. So that was a really useful and distinctive feature of working with Peaceful Learning. And I think overall there was just a sense of a desire on the part of Lara and the team to really understand what we were looking for and try very hard to match us with a good candidate. And that also included us feeling quite comfortable when candidates weren't right and being able to express quite openly why that was the case. So we were also very grateful for that kind of open channel of communication with you, where when we did meet someone who didn't quite click, there was no sense of you being offended. You were very curious actually about understanding why that wasn't a good fit. And that also gave us, I think, a sense of additional confidence.
I was very keen to get an Italian-speaking nanny to reinforce the language. And I confess I hadn't done as much research into parenting philosophies as Sally had done. But when we interviewed Elisa, I really felt the difference with other nannies. Something just clicked and she felt just right. Her whole attitude and the sense of pride and dedication, but also her attentive observing of Audrey, it just felt right. And I could see that there was something different there. So it was perfect, a perfect match for us.
I know from talking to Elisa, I obviously don't have experience of what it's like to be a nanny interviewing with agencies, but I know that Elisa, our nanny, was particularly impressed by the quality of the interview questions that she was asked by the agency, because she, having interviewed with a lot of agencies, she feels a lot of the time it's a bit of a rubber stamping process, whereas Elisa felt that the questions that Peaceful Learning asked of her were really trying to get to the bottom of what kind of a caregiver she was, what kind of philosophy she embodied, and why she was passionate about what she was doing. So I think that that's one reason we would recommend Peaceful Learning to other families, is knowing that there's a really thorough and careful vetting process that goes on. For us, childcare was much more about thinking what kind of a relationship we wanted Audrey to develop with somebody who was going to be so crucial in her development. And so it made sense for us to work with an agency who really understood that it's really, particularly for us living in London without extended family, our nanny is going to be the third most important person in Audrey's life after her parents. So it made sense for us to make sure that we were really, really careful about who that person was. And we were very grateful to be able to work with an agency that understood the significance of that bond.